So there's a debate over whether online speech is free speech. I don't think most people knew that this was the debate. I think most people looked at it as the rules of Twitch, rules of YouTube. These social media companies can do what they want. You know, you say something, they ban you, and it's just like, well, they have the rules. It's their platform, they can do what they want with it. So the question is, how would you create law to be fair to both sides? So for me, you know, if we're going to engage in this mental exercise, right, I would put myself in either position, really. You look at yourself as the victim with a unjust aggressor, and then you look at yourself as someone that has been wronged and need to go after that person through legal, through like the legal system itself, or through the criminal system, like, you know, going to the cops or whatever. And so you take those two things and you find a way to fit them together in a fair manner for both parties. And you look at that, and that actually is pretty close to what we currently have with our current legal system, at least here in America. So there's this debate. Platform versus publisher. Now, platform in an online age is something basically similar to the open square. You know, the free speech area, right? It's a platform. No one is restricted. No content is necessarily censored. You put it out there, and you, the person putting it out there, is responsible for it, not the platform itself. So platform, they don't control the content, they don't cut or edit or censor the content, but they're not responsible. Publishers, on the other hand, they do. They editorialize the content. They pick what they want on there and what they don't want on there. And they are responsible, in a way, like newspapers, magazines, news networks. Publishing content means they approve. Now, in the online age, that's where the debate lies. You have these social media companies that have basically lived in a gray area. They have both capabilities of a platform and a publisher. It's kind of like they're eating their cake and also having it at the same time. So that's ultimately where the debate really is, not well, it's their company. At least in my mind, that's the case. So, online speech, free speech, if you're looking at the law and how you would create it, honestly, some people are just too self-centered to be fair. They're the ones that are always right, or they're the victim, always. You know, it's not slander, libel, or defamation when they're the ones that are doing it. And because of that, they're unable to create or even see or understand a fair system. They're the ones that want to pull it down because it doesn't suit them today, and they're not looking at how it could be possibly used against them tomorrow. So now, the lawsuit itself, what does that mean for free speech?
Well, there's always a chance.
This case could be one of those cases where all kinds of odd things happen.
Storm Knight ND says, "Oh my God, Ling! Well played, Nick, Todd, and Ty. Well played. Also, is there a way to contact Ty's client to plead to let him go wide open throttle? No.
No.
This could have repercussions to hashtag Me Too and Section 9. You mean Title 9 is what you're referring to. No, Vic will make the decisions that are appropriate for Vic.
That's right.
And that's one hard thing for everybody to have to remember when you're looking into a lawsuit, is that no matter what you think they should do, the decisions are you're only able to make those decisions as the person who has to bear the cost, who has to bear the repercussions and ramifications of your actions. So
could not agree more. I do not ever want to be in a position where I have to say to a client, "You are a symbol of a movement." That's just not how it works.
Nope.
Every client comes as they come, and you deal with their problem.
And no client should ever listen to an attorney who says, "I need to use you as the figurehead."
Right.
don't
Right.
don't
Because that lawyer's probably lining his pocket.
right. Don't take that person's legal advice at all. Yeah. Now those things could run hand in hand, but if they're saying you need to do this action because you're the leader of a movement, no.
No, I agree. That's very strong evidence that you're dealing with flake.
Yep.
In my opinion.
So I don't agree with using Vic as a flag bearer for the cause. I think it runs hand in hand in a sense, but unfortunately, we have to remember that a man's life has been damaged, right? So using lawsuits like this with the possibility of a deterrent for other people that act in irrational ways, honestly, I just think that's unlikely. You know, it's unlikely that these people will be deterred. Their worldview is skewed. You know, I think we all know people that they're always right, and if something bad happens to them, especially if it happens because of their own actions, well, they're the victim. And so I think, you know, them looking at this and being like, oh, that could happen to me, I think that's just unlikely. I mean, people are going to prison for defamation. You know, how many people knew about that fact? Probably not many. If they did, they'd still be like, well, you know, that person's going to prison, but I'm not going to. I'm in the right. They were wrong. Unfortunately, it reminds me of a saying that I used to have that maybe seems to be more and more true these days, which is people have to die for things to change. And I'm paraphrasing that saying, but unfortunately it seems like that is the case. Things that need to change, that should change for the better. Someone has to die or get hurt, seriously, for things to improve, because no one wants to get off their butt until something really bad happens. And with something like this, you know, I mentioned the people going to prison for defamation, and there's been other lawsuits, I'm sure, for defamation with issues like this as well. That's only the ones we know about. I'm sure there's been a lot of unseen victims that can't afford court, or you know, allegedly, quote unquote, some of the people that Vic is suing has said that he would want that they would want him to kill himself. And probably some have, and we don't know why. You know, that's the thing. It's like you can't judge how many unreported victims there have been because of this, but I'm sure there have been some, and we're going to need things to change. So I'm hoping this lawsuit turns things around. I think it's unlikely that, you know, the people will see this and use it as a deterrent. But I think ultimately companies will have to change. That platform versus publisher thing that I mentioned earlier, I think that's going to be the big push. Because honestly, we can't depend, on wealth to decide whether people get justice or not. You know, we can't. Just because, you know, if you don't have money, that means you get screwed. I don't think that's right. So for me, this lawsuit kind of represents hope. I realize it's cheesy, and I'm trying to be cautiously optimistic about it, because this is the first step. It may be the first step. It might not be. But if it is the first step, then it is the first step. And so we have a lot of steps to go, if that's the case. Still a lot of work that needs to be done. I mentioned not using Vic as a standard bearer for the social cause, or a figurehead for a social cause, and we're walking together at the moment. You know, he wants these people punished. We all hope that other people will look at this or I should say, he doesn't necessarily want people to be punished. He wants to be made whole. He wants possibly justice. I'm not sure what he wants, to be honest, but for the moment our interests align. And while we would like the world to be a little bit less crazy, people to be a little calmer and more rational, you know, at some point our interests may diverge. Like, he's got to handle his business, and the free speech battle, I think, is just gonna, it's never gonna end. There's always gonna be people that are gonna want to take freedoms away for their own benefit. So there's still a lot of work to do. Now, what does the lawsuit mean for free speech as a whole, right? That's the point of the video. So some people think you can say whatever you want. They think free speech means I can say whatever I want. The problem is, stuff like libel and slander and defamation is not speech, it is weaponized speech. That's kind of what I meant earlier about if you look at the system and you figure out what's fair, well, that is pretty much how it is. Libel, slander, or defamation, they're not free speech. The whole point of the lawsuit, at least for me, and what it does for free speech, is that it reinforces the concept of free speech. It doesn't attack it, it doesn't demean it, it doesn't tear it down. It's a course correction onto, hey everybody, all this stuff, all these ideas that you have about free speech may not be correct. Let's see if we can get our minds right and put it back where it needs to be. And honestly, I hope, you know, people do look at it and say, hey, maybe we can resolve these issues without anyone getting sued or hurt or anything else, you know? That's my thing. I just want people to be nice to each other, or at least respectful. You don't have to be nice, but, you know, respect is key. So that's it for today, guys. I really do appreciate your time and attention. I do hope you enjoyed the video. I hope it made you think. I'm interested in whatever comments you guys have, good, bad, or indifferent. You know, as long as your point is, you know, you don't have to respect me necessarily if you have a good point, but try and make it good. You know what I'm saying? That's all I've got for today. So thank you guys so much. I hope to see you guys next time. Until then, guys, take care.